So Jennifer Reagan, she was the head coach. And so earlier in that summer, she met Karen at, Flip Fest.
Mm-hmm.
And so she invited Karen to our camp. And then, Karen had an opportunity here to have another coach. And so I came in, checked it out, and, fell in love with, the area here in New Braunfels. And really ironically too is, again, I'm a man of faith. And so I don't think everything happens on accident, because I was attending a church in Wisconsin, and the senior pastor at that church, ironically, was from this town. And so he and his wife was from the town. And so the biggest mistake that people make is they call it New Braunfels. And so I said, hey, by the way, I'm leaving because I'm going to this place called New Braunfels. He goes, first of all, don't call it New Braunfels. They're going to give you a hard time. It's called New Braunfels, and that's where I'm from. And he probably said that before, but again,
it didn't register.
No, because it didn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right. And so I came down, and I've been here since September of 2018, and just grown as a coach and stuff like that.
That's a unique way of getting into the sport. I think both you and I probably have like very unique ways of getting into the sport. We're not gym rats. Like, we didn't grow up in the sport. Our lives, weren't full of chalk whenever we were kids, and then we like landed at the sport in a very unorthodox way. What do you think the biggest advantage? I have an answer for this because I have to talk about this all the time. But what do you think the biggest advantage to you not being the traditional, or you not walking the traditional path of what it means to be a club coach and or college coach for women's gymnastics? What do you think is the biggest skill set or strength that comes from that?
Well, I think I bring a unique perspective because I did other sports and I didn't know gymnastics. Like, even now I do follow gymnastics, but I'm not like, I don't really follow it that intently. And so I don't get too caught up into some of the stories, I guess, storylines that may have happened, right? Or some of the, because even like when I was at Whitewater, that's when USAG was kind of going through their kind of downward spiral, right?
Yeah.
And that's when athletes were coming out, and that's when, the Larry Nassar stuff. And to me, I didn't have any like real knowledge about that at the time. Like, I didn't follow, elite gymnastics to really know. And so when I came in from a different perspective, because a lot of times in other sports, you get to make your own decisions a lot of times. Like, if I am wrestling, right, or if I'm playing football, or if I'm running track, I can make my own decisions a lot of times. Like, for example, for football, yes, I have a set play, but once that set play is called, or I run my route, and say I get the ball or the play develops and someone else does, I get to make my own decisions, right? I don't have a set thing that I necessarily have to do and stick to, right? And so wrestling, I'm out there on my own. Like, I don't have to go and be choreographed through my wrestling match, right? I have to be able to respond to whatever my opponent's doing or know my strengths and be able to do those things. Where in the sport, you're almost told what to do and your steps are almost directed for you all the time, right?
Yeah. There's a very militant aspect to gymnastics as a whole. Yeah.
Right. And so even though I grew up, like I said, I grew up with parents who are really strict. I was you could say, quote unquote, a free spirit. So I thought for myself. Sometimes I did my own things. And so I already had that type of mindset. So that's what I brought in an opportunity to think about things differently or challenge what was normal. And also, like, during the time of me coaching high school gymnastics, when I was a head coach, I'd also work with other sports, or even when I was an assistant, I worked with other sports. I worked with the footballs, strength and conditioning. I did their speed and agility. I also worked in the weight room with them. So I learned and I had all this knowledge of doing and training differently. Right. And so I brought a lot of those things in, and even just my relationships with the athlete, it just wasn't from a standpoint of just gymnastics. Right. And I didn't have because I was trying to figure this out. Like, I wasn't trying to get to a certain place, which probably sounds bad, like as if I didn't have a vision.
I get you, yeah.
But I didn't have coming in, hey, my goal is to produce all these athletes to do this.
Yeah.
Or my goal is to become this caliber of coach. I just came in and said, hey, I want to learn, and these girls gave me the opportunity, and the coaching staff gave me opportunity. The owners at the time gave me an opportunity to be able to learn and grow, and I was open for it, and I just accepted any opportunities that I got.
Our answers are very similar because, like you, I don't come from a gymnastics background. I feel like the biggest strength that I have is my perspective. And the simple fact that because I don't come from a very old way of thinking, I get to challenge a lot of those either systems or thought processes or anything like that. And it's not a challenge of defiance. It's a challenge of curiosity. And oftentimes and maybe this is part of my character also, but oftentimes that curiosity comes with a lot of questions. So it's always been very easy for me to say, why does that get done that way? Could we probably do it a different way? Oh, well, the reason it's done this way is because it's always been done this way. Like, okay, well, can we change it? Well, we've always done it this way. Okay, well, can we try? And just like continuing to push that kind of thing, just out of curiosity. And I think to that point, one of the biggest things that I struggled with at my previous job was that there was a lot of things that were just set. This is the way that it does. This is the way that, and it was really helpful. It was really helpful at the beginning because it helped me understand processes. It helped me understand how to coach in a very specific way. It helped me with timeline and how to divide my year up in a very specific process, to where I could produce a high caliber of output when it comes to athletes and performance and things like that. But after a certain amount of time, after that gets engraved in you, the curiosity part starts to come in, and I just start to ask, well, why? I feel like it'd probably be more efficient if we did it this way, or probably be more efficient if we did it that way. Can we try it this way? What if we do it this way? Now we're dealing with this problem. Can we try to do it like this instead of trying to fit a square peg into a circular hole, right? So, needless to say, I think that's one of my biggest strengths. And now that I'm in charge of my own program, I get to start implementing a lot of the things that I felt were kind of obvious, but maybe not the first steps or the first courses of action for a lot of people that I worked with, only because it's just not how it was done before, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like you, I feel like my perspective and my lack of gymnastics experience is a big strength of me being in this sport.